Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay Smart, and I'm the business manager of Ironworkers Local 725. I'm also joined by a colleague of mine, Colin Daniels. He's the president of the Western District Council and Ironworkers International. It is my honor to represent over 800 dedicated ironworkers who work on construction projects and build all across southern Alberta. Today we are gathered here at our training facility for an important announcement from our Prime Minister. And I am truly grateful to have all of you here with us. So welcome to the Ironworkers Local 725 training facility. Before we proceed, I would like to take a moment and welcome a dear friend of mine and a valued member of Local 725 family, Jasmine. Jasmine Smith is a journey person ironworker and an outstanding member of our local. She is also a graduate of the Tradewinds to Success program, which is a pre-apprenticeship initiative where we offer hands-on training to Indigenous students, providing them with 100% employment opportunities upon completion of the program. It is my privilege to invite Jasmine up now to give a land acknowledgement, so please join me in welcoming Jazz.
Okay, nisto aniok misimahkoinimak. Nina anesta suutena. Nexista anesta sohkopinak. Nachsa anesta misimahkoinimak. Nitamuhtoto bigani. Hello, my name is Jasmine Smith. My Blackfoot name was given to me by my late grandmother, Misimahkoinimak, which means longtime old holy pipe woman. I'm a part of Siksikates Tabi. I'm from Piikani Nation, and I belong to the Lone Fighter clan. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge the traditional Treaty 7 territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani Nations, as well as those who have come to call this territory home, the Nakota Nation and the Tsuut'ina Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation within Alberta's Districts 5 and 6, and finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land, and who honor and celebrate this territory. I thank you and welcome you to this sacred gathering place, which provides us with an opportunity to engage and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation. Genyuk.
Thank you for that, Jasmine. I'd now like to welcome Sean Strickland, the Executive Director of Canada's Building Trades Unions, to share some remarks. So please help me welcome Sean Strickland. Thank you.
Good morning. It's an honor to be standing alongside my brothers and sisters and to be here for today's announcement from Prime Minister Mark Carney. I wanted to say a special thank you to Business Manager Jay Smart and Ironworkers 725 for graciously hosting, and to the Ironworker pre-apprentices who have joined us here today. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge a few folks who made great efforts to get here today. The Canadian Director of the Ironworkers, Colin Daniels, and a member of the Canadian Executive Board. Terry Parker, Executive Director of the Building Trades of Alberta, and several of our local union affiliates. That's Terry over there. Plus, I see a couple friendly faces from industry here in the crowd. Bruce Graham from Friends of Calgary Airport Banff Rail Hydrogen Project, and Lorraine Little from Enbridge, and also representatives from the Calgary Construction Association. Thank you all for coming. Canada's Building Trades is a non-partisan organization whose mission is to improve the lives of Canada's skilled trades construction workers. We're the national voice for more than 600,000 unionized workers in more than 60 different trades and occupations. We are grateful that Prime Minister Carney has taken the time to meet with us and to be here today to advance policies that support skilled trades workers and their families. Our members and all workers across this country are nervous about what the future has in store for them as these unjustified tariffs wind their way through the Canadian economy. We also recognize with this threat of tariffs comes an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity to rebuild our economy, get our resources to new markets, and make a Canadian-made future for our members and all Canadians. Provide a Canadian-made future for our members and all Canadians. Prime Minister Carney, we very much look forward to your announcement today. Now I'd like to turn it over to George Chahal, MP for Calgary Skyview, to introduce a few of our guests. George?
Thank you, Sean, for the kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, Jasmine, for starting us off in such a positive way. And I had a few minutes with Jasmine. She shared her inspiring story with me. Thank you. I'm George Chahal. I'm your candidate for Calgary McKnight. And it's great to be here where I've been born and raised here in East Calgary. I had an opportunity for a number of years to have my boots on and work in the construction industry. Thank you to the union leadership for hosting us this morning from all over Western Canada and the work you do in building our city and country and representing hardworking Canadians every day. Thank you to Local 725, the iron workers, for hosting us here this morning. And now I would like to introduce a champion for Canadian workers, the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, and our Prime Minister, Mark Carney.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Bonjour tout le monde. I got to start. It is fantastic to be back home in Alberta. George, merci à vous et tous nos candidats exceptionnels libéraux du Calgary qui sont ici aujourd'hui. Et merci de vous mettre au service de notre pays à ce moment crucial. Just as Sean Strickland said. And Sean, I want to thank you for your tireless advocacy on behalf of our unionized building trades. Above all, I want to thank those behind me, the workers, the students graduating from TradeWinds, a program that empowers Indigenous peoples to find their path to a good career in the trade, and this record, Jay, of 100% employment coming out. Great training, great jobs that come through, building our future. And the iron workers, Local 725, iron workers across this country who are literally building Canada. You are exactly the people we need right now and for decades to come. We need builders. We need unionized builders. We need extraordinarily skilled women and men like you, because being extraordinary is how we are going to emerge stronger from the biggest crisis in our lifetimes. You know, today marks an anniversary. Over a century ago, our country came together in a crisis on the battlefield and showed the best that Canada had to offer at Vimy Ridge. We're facing now a different crisis. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the international trading system. And in the process, he's rupturing the global economy. We've seen the impact of this chaos. Volatility in global financial markets, retirement savings being put at risk. And here in Canada, President Trump's tariffs are threatening Canadian labor and Canadian business. They're putting people's livelihoods in jeopardy, from auto workers in Ontario to iron workers here in Alberta. We are responding. We are responding with purpose and with force, because we are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Nous contrôlons notre destin économique. Nous allons tracer notre propre voie. Nous choisissons de nous battre, de protéger et de bâtir. Nous allons nous battre contre ces tarifs jusqu'à qu'ils soient annulés. Dès minuit, nos contre-tarifs en réponse aux tarifs du président Trump sur notre industrie automobile prendront effet. Ça représente des tarifs de 25% sur tous les véhicules américains qui ne sont pas conformés à notre accord de libre-échange nord-américain. Nous allons protéger nos travailleurs, nos entreprises pendant cette période difficile. We'll fight, we'll protect, but above all, we will build a new Canadian economy. We will build Canada strong. Now, since becoming your Prime Minister, I've chosen to continue to speak plainly. And the truth is, we haven't been thinking, as a country, we haven't been thinking or acting big enough. As a nation, we've played it too safe by relying too much on the United States. It's time now to realize Canada's full potential. And to speak plainly again, Canadian, especially Albertan energy workers, deserve recognition, more recognition, for the long hours they work living far from home to power our country, to keep us warm and safe. And I want to say thank you on behalf of a grateful nation. You are an integral part of Team Canada. You make Canada strong. And these two truths are related, because if we want to achieve our full potential as a country, we have to recognize and leverage our strengths. We have to recognize that we have the best workers in the world. The iron workers, the builders, the 700,000 energy workers here in Alberta across the country. Recognize as well that we are home to an abundance of conventional, that means oil and gas, conventional and clean energy resources. Recognize that Canada has everything we need to realize an amazing potential. My government, my Liberal government, recognizes this. And if elected, we will act on it. Because under my leadership, it's time to build big time. Today, I'm announcing a comprehensive new approach to make Canada the world's leading energy superpower. And it's an approach that is defined by three objectives. Energy security, first. This means using Canadian energy to displace imported energy, including energy imported from the United States. Secondly, trade diversification, to widen our partners, and again, to reduce our reliance on the U.S. And thirdly, long-term competitiveness. To build the strongest economy in the G7, we need to develop both clean energy and the lowest carbon conventional energy. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce une nouvelle approche qui va faire du Canada une superpuissance énergétique. Cette stratégie sera définie par trois objectifs. Premièrement, la sécurité énergétique, c'est-à-dire d'utiliser l'énergie canadienne pour remplacer les importations, notamment celles venant des États-Unis. Deuxièmement, la diversification des marchés afin de réduire notre dépendance aux États-Unis. Et finalement, la compétitivité à long terme. Pour bâtir l'économie la plus forte du G7, nous devons développer chacun des énergies propres et l'énergie traditionnelle la moins polluante possible. Our approach starts at the beginning of the clean energy supply chain by catalyzing investment in critical metals and minerals. Nickel, lithium, copper, cobalt, manganese, many, many more. We in Canada have the vital components of the clean energy revolution. And this in a world that's currently dominated by China. Today I'm announcing a new Liberal government will create the first and last mile fund that will connect critical mineral extraction projects to our supply chains to get them to market. In other words, from rock to road and rail. Getting these projects built faster while creating good, higher paying jobs in the trades. Catalyzing the exploration, development, and use of these minerals. To do that, we will introduce and reinforce a series of tax measures. Nous allons bonifier le crédit d'impôt à l'investissement pour la fabrication de technologies propres pour inclure un plus grand nombre de projets et de minéraux critiques. En élargissant la portée du crédit d'impôt pour l'exploration de minéraux critiques pour inclure matériaux nécessaires pour les technologies liées à la défense, aux semi-conducteurs, à l'énergie et aux technologies vertes. En même temps, nous investissons afin d'extraire des minéraux critiques grâce au recyclage des résidus miniers et des batteries usées de véhicules électriques, ce qui est une façon plus durable et écologique d'extraire des ressources. Et en élargissant l'accès au remboursement des frais d'exploration pour inclure les frais liés aux études techniques. Together, all of these measures will help ensure that Canada becomes the global supplier of choice for critical metals and minerals. But we will choose our trade partners carefully for those who share our values and who treat us fairly. Critical minerals are just the beginning. We need to get more clean energy built. And our system of investment tax credits are promoting a generational investment in clean energy. They're an investment in making oil and gas as well, making oil and gas the lowest emission and therefore the most competitive in the world. They will unlock more solar, more wind, more nuclear, both large scale and small modular, more geothermal, more hydrogen, more biofuels, more projects that will create good careers for tens of thousands of Canadians across this country, including such as those behind me today. To be an energy superpower, we also need to get more conventional energy built, with a focus on making it as clean as possible, because we can't lose sight of our responsibility to address climate change. And we can't lose sight of the imperative to ensure the long-term competitiveness of our conventional energy sector. And that starts with recognizing the facts. As the world shifts to using lower carbon energy, increasingly only the cleanest oil and gas will be consumed. Our oil and gas industry recognizes this. They're committed to net zero emissions by 2050, and so are we. Now, the time for analysis of how to get there is ending. My government is focused on results, and the results of the current consultation on the emissions cap will reflect the importance of efficiently and fairly achieving these objectives. My government will work closely with our oil and gas industry to reduce their emissions over time so that Canadian conventional energy will supply the world for decades to come. We will focus on getting carbon capture and storage projects built to ensure a long and prosperous future for the sector, and at the same time to create an entirely new industry for Canada. Le Fonds de croissance du Canada sera important dans ce regard. Une organisation qui investit et utilise des outils financiers innovants pour rendre notre production d'énergie traditionnelle plus écologique et compétitive, tout en aidant le Canada à développer de nouvelles sources d'énergie comme l'hydrogène et les biocarburants. Et c'est particulièrement important en ce moment, alors que nous détournons notre économie de celle des États-Unis et l'orientons vers de nouveaux partenaires fiables qui prennent les changements climatiques au sérieux et demandent la même chose de ceux avec qui ils bâtissent des relations commerciales. Ignorer les changements climatiques, ce n'est seulement une erreur morale, c'est une erreur économique qui va nous isoler de nouveaux marchés et nous garder dépendants des États-Unis. But ensuring that the money and the incentives are there to build clean energy and a highly competitive conventional energy sector is just one half of the equation. We can't build Canada into an energy superpower if we can't actually get the shovels into the ground. To put it plainly, we need to get going. I'm a pragmatist. So when I see something needs changing, I change it. And that starts with our mindset. At the moment, when we're thinking about new projects, too often the immediate question is why. Instead, we need to ask ourselves, how? How do we get it done? How can we build things in our country? I believe in Canada. I know we can do big things, and I know it's time to build. And that's why my Liberal government will establish a major federal project office with a clear mandate. Issue a decision after a single review on a project within 2 years instead of 5. And we will do this. We will do this in a way without compromising our world-leading environmental standards or our constitutional and moral obligations to Indigenous peoples. This is an ambitious but attainable goal. C'est un objectif réaliste parce que le Bureau des grands projets fédéraux agira comme un guichet unique qui fera en sorte que les bâtisseurs de grands projets n'auront pas à travailler avec plusieurs ministères différents pour obtenir les permis nécessaires pour aller de l'avant. Ils n'auront qu'à travailler avec ce nouveau bureau qui coordonnera les activités des différents ministères pour accélérer le processus et réduire la paperasse. It's attainable because we're making one project, one review a reality. You know, during my first days as Prime Minister, in fact, at the end of the first week, the premiers and I met, and we agreed to eliminate duplicative, burdensome requirements, including by recognizing provincial assessments for major projects. Within 6 months of being elected, a new Liberal government will utilize the Impact Assessment Act to sign agreements with all willing premiers and Indigenous governments. Agreements that will recognize provincial, territorial, and Indigenous-led project assessments, substituting the process to review major projects to them. The federal government substituting to provinces, territories, Indigenous-led processes, all while upholding the strongest environmental protections and Indigenous rights. Et c'est un objectif réaliste parce que nous allons élaborer une liste de projets d'intérêt national qui va mobiliser les ressources nécessaires pour que la première pelletée de terre soit faite plus rapidement. C'est une promesse que j'ai faite avec les premiers ministres des provinces et territoires il y a quelques semaines. Une promesse que je vais tenir. Nous développons un corridor commercial et énergétique pour les transports, l'énergie, les minéraux critiques et la connectivité numérique. Nous allons faire de ce concept une réalité pour diversifier et renforcer notre économie. Our ambitious goal is attainable because we are committed to free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous peoples. And we are doubling the funding for Indigenous communities to engage on projects early and consistently. With First Ministers in that first week as Prime Minister, we also agreed to develop national trade and energy corridors for transportation, energy, critical minerals, and digital. We're ready to turn that concept into a reality to diversify and strengthen our economy, including our commitment made in Montreal 2 weeks ago, our commitment to a $5 billion trade diversification corridor fund, and to ensure that Indigenous participation. We have increased the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program from $5 billion to $10 billion and expanded it to support more Indigenous-led infrastructure, transportation, and trade projects across the country. We'll make it easier for more Indigenous communities to become owners of major projects and equal partners in building Canada strong. In summary, A new Liberal government will develop Canadian resources and produce Canadian electricity and energy to power Canadian homes and businesses, all using Canadian labour, union labour, and all in partnership with Indigenous peoples. Unlike Mr. Poilievre's plan, this is a real approach that will work. Une approche respectueuse de l'environnement, contrairement à celle de M. Poilievre, qui se résume à faire l'autruche et prétendre que les changements climatiques n'existent pas. Une approche respectueuse des peuples autochtones, contrairement à une approche qui viole le droit constitutionnel. Une approche centrée sur les travailleurs syndiqués, contrairement à une approche qui cherche à leur faire perdre leurs acquis. It's a real approach that recognizes as well that the federal government should run a prudent capital deficit to catalyze enormous private investment to get Canada building again, while spending less at the federal level to balance our operating budget. We're not pursuing austerity that will leave us dangerously dependent and reliant on the United States. It's a real approach that maintains the Impact Assessment Act while making it work better, rather than stopping projects in their tracks by throwing out the whole act, starting from scratch, and then spending the next decade in court. It's a real approach to build a strong and more sustainable Canadian energy industry. You know, as the U.S. steps back, it's time for Canada to lead. We've done it before. Builders made us a global leader in hydro, in nuclear power, in clean technology. Vision made us the 4th largest oil producer. I know that Alberta will be at the heart of these solutions. After all, I was born just north of Fort Mac and I grew up just south of it. When I was born, the oil sands was called the tar sands. It was just a dream. It was a concept. But the combination of the ingenuity of Alberta scientists, the drive of Alberta entrepreneurs, the support of the provincial and federal governments created a powerful industry that has enriched all of Canada. And that same partnership can usher in a new energy era. We can grow our energy sector while cutting carbon pollution. We can lead the energy transition while ensuring affordable energy at home and building the strongest economy in the G7. We can give ourselves far more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We will build this country again. We will make Canada into an energy superpower. We will build Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. And I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. We'll now take 15 minutes from the delegation, followed by local media. Let's start with the delegation. Dylan.
Dylan Robertson at the Canadian Press.
Okay.
There.
Sorry, thank you, Dylan.
Dylan Robertson at the Canadian Press. Mr. Carney, your platform hasn't said anything about LGBTQ Canadians. We're here in Alberta where the province wants to restrict health care for transgender people, and they want the Canada Health Act to defend their access to gender-affirming care. Would you do that? And what is your party going to do about the backsliding that we're seeing for gender and sexual minorities?
You know, thank you for the question, Dylan. Let me start at a fundamental point, which is, you know, our Canada is a mosaic. We are all Canadians, but we all have different identities and distinctions. And one of the great strengths of this country is recognizing that people can be who they are, they can love who they love, they can live where they want to live. And it's fundamentally important that the federal government is the defender of those rights, defender of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And access to health care in Canada is not a business, it is a fundamental right, and we will defend it. For all Canadians without exception.
Follow up.
Mr. Carney, would you cut foreign aid from the current ODA and financing levels? And what is your broader vision for Canada when it comes to global development?
Okay. So the short answer is no. My government will not cut foreign aid, and we will be releasing our platform soon, so you can see that. That is a direct contrast to Mr. Poilievre, who will not just cut foreign aid, but taking his cue from the Americans, he will eliminate foreign aid. He will eliminate foreign aid to those most affected around the world, most punished around the world. He'll eliminate foreign aid by extension to the Middle East, to Ukraine as well. And he will use the money for other purposes, presumably for tax cuts, which is normally what he does when he cuts programs. Our vision is that this is a time for Canada to lead. Canada to lead in developing a new system of trade, Canada to lead in developing our rightful place as an energy superpower, and Canada to lead in ensuring that we play a role that Canada always has, which is to be generous and to be effective in our support of those who are most vulnerable around the world. Thank you.
Bonjour, M. Carney. Michel Sabat, la presse canadienne. Accepteriez-vous que ce soit la Charte de la langue française qui s'applique au Québec plutôt que la loi sur les langues officielles, de sorte à ce qu'il n'y ait qu'un seul régime linguistique cohérent comme le demande le Bloc québécois?
Merci pour votre question. Je veux noter que le Bloc a voté pour la loi il y a une année, 18 mois, je crois, mais à peu près 18 mois, dans un sens unanime. Apparemment, ils ont changé ou essayé de changer leur opinion, mais la loi protège la langue française, renforce la langue française au Québec et à travers le pays. Moi, j'ai grandi, comme vous le savez, à Edmonton, et il y a plusieurs villes francophones autour d'Edmonton, Bonnyville, Saint-Paul et les autres. Et c'est important de protéger les langues minoritaires à travers le Canada. Mais en ce qui concerne la langue française au Québec, je sais que la langue française est en déclin et il faut le promouvoir, il faut le renforcer et il faut le protéger. Et on peut le faire avec la situation actuelle à ce moment. À vous.
Pourquoi refusez-vous d'accorder au Québec davantage de pouvoir dans la nomination des juges comme le réclame le gouvernement de François Legault?
Alors, je suis toujours ouvert d'avoir des discussions avec le gouvernement du Québec. N'importe quel sujet. Je n'avais pas reçu à ce moment-ci une demande de M. Legault en ce qui concerne ça. Mais la situation actuelle est comme ça. Il y a une représentant du Québec au sein de tous les comités de nomination pour les juges désignés au sein qui évaluent les candidats. Et tous les membres des comités sont des Québécois, elle et lui-même. Alors, nous avons, et il y a un point fondamental, il faut avoir un système judiciaire indépendant. Ça c'est le point fondamental. Alors, nous avons un système avec la participation du Québec et surtout des Québécois. Ça fonctionne, mais je suis ouvert à des conversations si je vais recevoir une demande du Premier ministre. Madame.
Next question.
Judah Melissa, the Globe and Mail. You've spent years emphasizing how climate change threatens to disrupt economies and advocating for net zero policies and advocating also for the carbon price. So far in your campaign, you've really emphasized the need to increase production of conventional energy, and you have committed to removing the carbon price. So my question to you is, you've been talking about being a pragmatist. Does being a pragmatist mean walking back on your values?
It doesn't, and thank you for your question. It's we're in a situation where, and I mentioned in my remarks, but you've given me a chance to reinforce this, which there is two things happening at the same time. One is there is an energy transition towards lower carbon energy that is underway around the world. I'll give you one example. Last year, 90% of the energy investment, the power investment in the world, was clean energy. 90% around the world. That tells you where the trajectory is. But of course, it's different from where the world is in terms of consumption of oil and gas, conventional energy. Our opportunity is to have the lowest risk, which we do because it's Canada, the lowest cost through investment, and amongst, if not the lowest, amongst the lowest carbon conventional energy. That is the opportunity we have here in Alberta and across Canada, and it's for the investments for that. So what we're recognizing as part of this is both that clean energy is going to be increasingly important to competitiveness. We have enormous opportunities in this country on that. We can build that out. We can drill down on that if anyone wants to. But at the same time, we want to dominate the market for conventional energy. And in order to do that, in the long term, it needs to be lower carbon on, since you asked the question about climate, on Scope 1, Scope 2 emissions. That's the opportunity that's here. That's what we're helping to unlock. We're looking to work with industry in order to do it, and the great people behind me and those they represent are going to help build it.
To spending money on clean energy, are you looking to spend that money on Canadian clean tech companies? There's a lot of them here, or will it be similar to the previous federal government that spent it on foreign giants on EV battery plants? Attaching a second part to that is, what policies or programs will you bring into place to help innovators more generally prosper in Canada?
Okay, very important question. So increasing focus across a range of policies on catalyzing Canadian investment and Canadian supply chain. So I'll give you an example, if I can, from yesterday, which is we're looking to double the rate of home building, as you would have seen, through new technologies in part, and Canadian innovation in modular housing, mass timber, etc. That's actually, it's better for people who buy the homes. Their homes cost less, they're cheaper to run. It's also much, much lower emission as a consequence. So that's an example of us using a small amount of government money, clear objectives, clear specifications in order to catalyze Canadian industry. I think as well, where we look at on the clean energy side, the direction of your question is the direction we're headed, so that we're building out that supply chain. We won't have exclusivity because we know we can be best in class, and some of it's from learning from others. But it's building back through, and that's part of the reason why I spent an important amount of time on where we're going on critical metals and minerals, how we get that to market, how we build out the supply chains. And last point, if I may, it does relate to the geopolitical situation, because we as a country need to think very clearly about who are our partners for this emerging industry. We are going to be one of the leaders in this industry. Do we want to reinforce our dependence with the United States with this industry? Or do we want to build on some of the conversations that I have begun with the Europeans, potentially others, on building supply chains out for other partners? Merci.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney.
Bonjour.
Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. Vous parlez de Faire du Canada une superpuissance énergétique. On n'entend pas souvent ça de la part d'un libéral à Ottawa. Comment les Albertains peuvent-vous croire que vous allez le faire cette fois-ci?
Premièrement, je suis une personne qui met l'accent sur les résultats. Alors, on a un objectif clair, moi je préfère d'avoir un objectif ambitieux, clair, et de développer des initiatives, des projets afin de l'atteindre, cet objectif, premièrement. Deuxièmement, il y a des politiques très spécifiques dans notre plateforme, très spécifiques en ce qui concerne les impôts, les crédits des impôts, par exemple, les changements de processus de réglementation, d'approbation des projets. J'ai déjà créé un accord avec les provinces afin d'avoir des projets à l'intérêt national, y compris des grands projets énergétiques ici en Alberta. Et point final, je suis un Albertain. Okay.
Question suivie.
sur la criminalité, croyez-vous que les criminels récidivistes qui commettent 3 crimes violents devraient automatiquement aller en prison pour 10 ans?
Je crois qu'il faut, premier point. Ce n'est pas le baseball. C'est pas le baseball. C'est une chose. The 3 strikes, you're out. Cette idée. Il faut mettre la force de la loi sur tous les criminels. Et il faut avoir des punitions appropriées pour les crimes, y compris les criminels habituels. Mais pour moi, ce n'est pas aussi simple d'avoir une règle de baseball sur n'importe quelle situation criminelle. Okay. Pas automatique. In English, I just say that, look, I'm for serious crimes or habitual crimes, which is the question. The full force of the law should be applied and appropriately severe punishment put in place. I don't jump to a baseball rule of 3 strikes and you're out for a period of time. No, it's a simple answer. And we will have more to say on, if you want to follow demain on our crime approach.
David Aiken, Global News. Good
Hi,
morning.
Dave. Good morning.
Today, Global News is reporting evidence of what seems to be a concerted, organized campaign by Canadian supporters of the Modi government, of the BJP. They donated to Pierre Poilievre's leadership campaign. Nothing illegal about it. He had 37,000 donors. Doesn't seem to have affected the outcome of the race. But it does underline once again what all foreign interference inquiries found, which is nomination races and leadership races are the soft underbelly vulnerable to interference by foreign governments working against our interest. So as leader of the Liberal Party now, will you do what the last leader failed to do and take steps to secure Liberal leadership races and Liberal nomination races from any foreign interference?
Well, thank you for your question, Mr. Aiken. Look, these issues are very serious. I take these issues exceptionally seriously. It was, in fact, my first briefing as Prime Minister on national security focused on that. Obviously, I can't detail the specifics. As you may be aware, I reinforced the so-called SITE process that oversees foreign interference, potential foreign interference in the election, made it more transparent, which is why there are these public reporting, and I think we've had 3 of those public reports. It's independent, it's focused on that. It's important that Canadians, obviously the media included, but that Canadians know in real time what's being, I understand, yeah, but I'll go to that, so the overall point. In terms of nomination, I extend that approach to the Liberal Party as the leader of the Liberal Party. I will note that one of the things that the Liberal Party did in the leadership process, I didn't set these rules, but obviously we followed them, is to be very rigorous on Liberal Party memberships and who voted in that process. It meant, in reality, it was quite difficult to vote for some people in that process. Fewer people would have voted than otherwise would have happened, but that was a price in that case worth paying to ensure that there was a rigorous process, limit foreign interference efforts to interfere with that process, and the integrity of that process stands up well. So yes, we will look at additional measures and learnings to strengthen this so that Canadians can have absolute confidence. I would say, if I may, though, just you're asking a specific question, you have a follow-up. For Canadians watching, the SITE committee, which is an independent committee, which does the reviews, what they have clearly stated up to this point is that there is no evidence of there continues to be a safe and fair election process in this country. And I will add to that that I'm pleased to see the level of engagement of Canadians with all political parties in this election process. This is the most consequential election of our lifetime. Canadians are getting engaged, and I welcome that.
We'll do a last question to the delegation before local media.
Yeah,
last night at the rally, there was a protester who, it was hard to hear, I believe said, There's a genocide in Gaza. One of the first protester that interrupted your speech said, there's a genocide in Gaza. And I believe your response was, I'm aware, that's why there's an arms embargo. So I just wanted to clarify what you heard. If you said, I'm aware, what were you being aware of? Are you conceding it's a genocide in Gaza?
I didn't hear that. Actually, I didn't hear that word. You were there, I guess, and yeah. So it's noisy. There's you get if you're up there, you hear snippets of what people say, and I heard Gaza and that, and my point was I'm aware of the situation in Gaza, and Canada does, as you know, and it's a matter of public record. We do have restrictions since. Probably January of 2024 on arms exports or permits for arms exports to Israel, with the sole exception of the Iron Dome, which protects them more broadly. So, look, didn't hear. I was stating a fact in terms of the arms restrictions. Thank you.
Over.
C'était la question est. Concerne une situation actuelle hier soir dans l'événement et j'ai entendu le mot Gaza mais pas l'autre mot et j'ai répondu avec l'observation. Oui, je connais, je sais la situation horrible à Gaza et à travers le Moyen-Orient et c'est une des raisons pour laquelle nous avons des restrictions sur les exportations des armes à Israël, avec l'exception importante pour le dôme de fer, cette méthode de protéger Israël contre les missiles. OK, merci.
Over to local media.
Welcome to Calgary.
Thank you.
Rick Bell from Post Media. I'm going to ask you a question a lot about, well, it's a two-part question. It's one question with two parts.
Okay. Got my pen out.
Number one is it's easy. Number one is Premier Smith presented you with a set of demands. I think there were 9. A lot of them have to do with the energy sector, the emissions cap, Bill C-69, tanker ban, and on we go. When are we going to get a response from you on what, how you're going to react to that, part one.
Okay.
And part two, in front of all these people from Alberta, you talk about fast-tracking nation-building projects.
Yep.
And can you give a commitment to us that you will do everything in your power to get new oil and gas pipelines and new LNG projects included? A real commitment.
Okay,
here.
So first off, Rick, thank you for your question. It is great to be back in Alberta. Hey, I'm from Alberta. You don't need to tell me what Alberta is like. I'm from Alberta. I know this province. Tons of friends here. I got family here. I've known here. I grew it up here. I know. I'll be direct. I'm focused on results. I'm focused on specific projects. I'm focused, and I'm putting in place, as Prime Minister, put in place a process that was very clear. We're going to identify projects of national interest. Any major energy project, virtually any major energy project that comes from this great province, is going to pass the boundaries of other provinces, is going to be built on Aboriginal lands. They will need the consent and the support of other provinces, of les peuples autochtones, Aboriginal people. The federal government has a role to play here in several respects that I have put in place. I've been Prime Minister for 3.5 weeks, and this is because I'm from Alberta, I'm direct and I do things, okay, Rick? And what have I put in place? I put in place not just a commitment, I got an agreement with Premier Smith and every other provincial and territorial premier in my first week to build energy corridors that run to the national interest, to fast-track those. To make that tangible, what I have done in the subsequent 2.5 weeks is put in place one project, one review at the federal level. What I'm announcing today makes it more tangible with a single window, pulls together a host of different approval processes, signals clearly to the province of Alberta as well as every other province with the exception of BC, which has already signed up to this, that we will sign cooperation agreements with them. And that will allow us to rely on the assessments of those provinces, which is another way of fast-tracking it. So I'm focused on getting things done in conventional as well as clean. I've got an agreement. I've got a process at the federal level. I'm putting it in place. Now, to be clear, Rick, we need your vote. I shouldn't ask that at the meeting. I'm sorry. We need the vote of your readers. Let me clarify that. Strike that. Strike that. We need the vote of your readers. We need to get some of the Liberal candidates, all the Liberal candidates elected, as many as possible, so we can put this into place. Because if I make one last point, I know you said it was easy. Well, the Smith Defense, they wrapped up into, I'm not going to spend my time writing letters back and forth. I'm going to put in place things that work. Things that work. That's what we're focused on. And I'll make a final point, which is we are going to move forward as a country when we come together, federal, provincial, industry, labor, First Nations. That's how we're going to move together. And I think that we have the ability as a Liberal government in order to bring together all Canadians to get things done. Thank you.
We'll have time for one last question.
Hello, Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News.
Hi.
Mr. Carney, how will you enforce the Canada Health Act when Alberta's government is promoting and funding more private health options? And I know other provinces are skirting the rules as well.
First off, I'm a believer in working with provinces. I'm a believer, again, I'm going to go back, broken record, but believer in results, getting results for Canadians. Obviously, we will work to ensure that all Albertans' rights, Canadians' rights, are fully respected in that. So in a pragmatic way and a direct way, again, by working with the province in order to make sure that it happens. Thank you.
Thank you. This puts an end to our press conference. Ce qui met fin à notre conférence de presse. Merci.
Merci. Okay.